You are listening to the Body Charge podcast, and I'm your host, Sandy Sanderson. Welcome to the Body Charge podcast. Today's topic is a hidden toxic burden blocking our body's defenses. It's now well known that a diet of highly processed foods causes health problems, but many still find it hard to shake off stored waste, toxins, and excess kilos, even when they change to a better diet. My special guest today is Darci Frankel, an Ayurvedic practitioner and wellness educator with more than 32 years of clinical experience specializing in cleansing and rejuvenation. She's the founder of the popular Serious Cleanse method. So welcome aboard, Darci. Lovely to have you on the Body Charge podcast.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you so much for having me here.
So my first question is, why do so many people still feel off despite changing their diet to a better diet and lifestyle and exercising and ticking all the boxes, doing all the things they think they're doing right, still not quite getting there? What's happening?
Well, as we know, Sandy, diet and exercise are important, but they're not the whole picture. So we want to consider our overall toxic burden, the amount of stress, and our recovery from that stress, our sleep, the amount of sleep that we actually get, the quantity of sleep, the quality of sleep, how much deep sleep we get. How are our detoxification pathways working? That's very important. Are they blocked? Are they working well? How are our organs of detoxification? Hormones, our nervous system, which we alluded to a little bit when we talked about stress, and our emotional toxic burden. These are very important pieces to address when looking at overall health and well-being, I find.
So many things can cause a toxicity to accumulate. So normally the body is constantly detoxing, isn't it? It's constantly producing energy, which has waste products, despite the fact that, we might be accumulating other kinds of artificial toxins in our lifestyle. We don't even know that are there. But even with normal metabolism, there are waste products produced that can kind of get stuck or accumulate. Instead of being dealt with immediately, we don't feel that process. It's in the autonomic nervous system. It's happening automatically. But sometimes that can slow down or get blocked or get stuck. And then the body has to find ways of dealing with it to protect our vital organs. And what does it do then? What's that plan B the body has? It stores those toxins in different places of the body. Eventually that causes symptoms, right?
Yes, and we want to think, when we're talking about this, the body prioritizes survival before repair. So, when we look at the nervous system, we have the sympathetic, we have the parasympathetic nervous system. Those make up the autonomic nervous system. And they work kind of in opposition. So the sympathetic system is you want to think fight or flight. And then the parasympathetic nervous system, you want to think rest and digest. And so the sympathetic nervous system, if we're stuck in fight or flight, our heart rate speeds up, the airways dilate, the digestion is slowed down, inhibited, or halts altogether. And that's digestion, assimilation, as well as elimination. Pupils dilate, there's so many downstream things that happen when our sympathetic nervous system is activated. The parasympathetic nervous system takes over when we're safe, and that allows our body to rest and regenerate and digest and
We sleep better when we can relax in that mode. And then, because you mentioned sleep earlier, the brain detoxes itself during sleep. The whole
yes.
cerebrospinal fluid gets a cleanse.
It does through the glymphatic system. So if we're not entering these deep stages of sleep, we're not getting that deep glymphatic cleansing, you know. So one of the things I love to do, and in the Serious Cleanse method, we talk about tracking all the time. So, excuse me, I wear an aura ring where I track how much deep sleep I get. So theoretically, we should have 20% of our overall sleep in deep sleep.
Can you
So,
explain more about what your Aura Ring does? That's interesting.
oh,
How does it, is it an electronic device?
it is, but I also I have a little aqua cover on it. It has, sensors inside right now. They're lit up in green. I don't know if you could see that. Um, and it looks at metrics of the body, the heart rate variability, which is really important. I love tracking. I do DEXA scans. Dutch tests, blood tests, my Aura ring. I track all kinds of things because I want to know what's happening in my body. And that's one of the things that I am a major proponent of. And there are, people are like, oh, that's so expensive to do all that stuff. It is, but when we invest in our health, it's so important. So the Aura Ring tracks sleep, it tracks our heart rate, even sleep disturbances and movement in the middle of the night. Uh, I don't know if you know about heart rate variability. Um, when we talk about how the body prioritizes survival before repair, when our heart rate variability this is the variability between beats, ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. We want a higher heart rate variability at that, that's the
And
the
in a
better.
normal rhythm. Yep.
Yes, yeah. So I love tracking. I love my Aura ring.
But if people don't have an Aura Ring, we just need to become more sensitive to what's happening inside the body. A lot of people I know can do this via practicing meditation because that sensitizes you to what's going on in the body, what's happening with your heart. The breathing exercises also help regulate that heart rate variability. So there's different techniques to do that. But with a mechanical device, you can see the data directly externally.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. You want to hear something funny? So about a month ago, my Aura ring stopped keeping a charge and I asked for a new one. It took over a month to get it to me, and then I was away at the biohacking conference in Austin, Texas. And so what happened was my brother was teasing me, you don't even know how you slept. And I said, I know how I sleep. I tune in. We don't want, which brings up the point. We don't want to we don't want to assign our inner authority to a device that's going to tell us how we're doing. You mentioned, meditation is a great way to tune in and to tune into our bodies. And I think that should be primary. We should, even though we might have these devices, it's really important to tune into our bodies to know how we're feeling and have that be prime. So now what I do is I say, okay, I check in with myself when I wake up before I check my metrics. And of course I want to know how I did. But I also know like I got enough sleep last night, quantity and quality, before I check it.
You do feel it in the heart. So about 18 years ago, I suffered from heart arrhythmias from extreme adrenal exhaustion. I had magnesium deficiency big time, and that interfered with the regular rhythm of the heart. And I couldn't sleep very well, and the less I slept well, and my job at the time was actually kind of a shift work because I had to get the magazine I was publishing to print on time, and I'd often work the whole night through.
Oh,
And that so severely impacted my brain's ability to recover. That affected my heart. The arrhythmias got worse. So the stress can be a real killer. I mean, I nearly died from those arrhythmias until I discovered, what I was doing to myself, which is kind of self-abuse. I didn't realize at the time. And then I realized, well, through reading and research, I've got to fix that magnesium deficiency. That cardiologist didn't mention magnesium once, which was interesting.
Mhm.
Just put up with it, he said, like everyone else. You'd be amazed how many people have this problem. So I wasn't willing to do that. And so it led me to actually a new profession, which is we manufacture magnesium skincare products. So I was able to absorb it very well through the skin because, as you said, when you're under stress, your digestive system is not working very well.
Mhm.
In the beginning, the first couple of days of soaking in magnesium, I did find I was getting a little headache. I was feeling a little bit like, washed out, like heavy. But that passed in a couple of days of the soaking. So I looked into that a bit more and found out that magnesium can trigger a detox effect. And this is similar to the Herxheimer if you use certain herbs, liver cleansers, whatever systems you use to try and cleanse the body, it can cause a rapid dumping from the stored tissue cells into the blood circulation that can
Yeah.
temporarily make you feel a bit yuck. Depending on what you're carrying, some people don't experience anything or notice anything, and others do, such as myself. But um, once you're on top of it, it's easy to maintain. What's your experience with this detox effect in your profession and how you help people get over that little bit of a hump in the beginning?
Hmm. Hmm. Well, I want to answer that question, but I want to also say, bless your heart. That sounds like a challenging experience that you went through. And I see this in healers frequently. I see these challenges in healers where they have a big hurdle to overcome. I myself have had some of those hurdles in the past as well. And I always tell people, it's the illness is the path. The disease is the way, it's the path. It's not an obstacle to your healing. And it sounds like you did the right thing. You turned the board around and the surfboard around and you rolled right, you flowed with the tide
But
there.
it was
So
an existential crisis. I
it,
faced
it was.
death. It
It was.
really woke me up. Like I had to do something because I wasn't ready to go yet. It wasn't my time. I knew
Yeah.
something has to change
And
dramatically.
you, yes, and you rolled up your sleeves. You were the guardian of your health, and bravo to you for doing that. And you founded this beautiful company. So the coming back to the question that you asked me, melatonin does that as well.
And you need
I don't know.
magnesium to make melatonin.
You do they do work hand in hand. And so if somebody, so then we take a look at certain environmental exposures could increase the body's demand for nutrients or interfere with normal biological processes. And so so we talk about replenishing nutrients, supporting our detoxification pathways. Chronic stress can also increase our nutrient demand. And, these are things to think about, along with how certain heavy metals can compete with minerals in the body. So there's all these amazing functions
Yes.
that happen.
Yeah. Lead,
So,
mercury, aluminium, these are commonly found in our environment. They creep into the food supply. Even when we're eating natural organic food products, they can still contain some elements, depending on, if the wind has blown something onto that field of organic produce, it's always better than industrial grown with the chemicals, always better, but it's
right.
never 100%. So we have to trust our body and its wisdom to be able to eliminate what shouldn't be there, what comes in, if it's not supposed to be there, needs to get out quick smart, right?
It's true. It's true. And I'll share something with you. You probably know, but the when I mentioned that these heavy metals can masquerade as important things, aluminum can interfere with magnesium. This is something I talk about a lot in my serious cleanse method. So, we don't think about things like this. We wrap, not me, but people wrap their food in aluminum foil and cook it. They drink from the aluminum cans. There's all these ways, there's certain aluminum in other foods, different.
Injectables,
Yeah,
vaccines.
I did get banned for saying that a similar synonym to that word on YouTube. One of my videos got banned, so we learned to say the right words.
Look, it's
You know,
becoming ubiquitous in the food supply, in medicine, in so many products. So if you were just exposed to a small extent, just a little bit over here, a trace element, your body could probably handle it, kick it out. But when you add another little piece and another little piece, it kind of adds up to quite a lot, and it can overwhelm the body.
it does, Sandy. And one thing we don't realize is that our body is exposed to tens of thousands of more chemicals and combinations of chemicals than we have ever been exposed to in the whole history of humanity. So our toxic burden is quite high. Even myself, I've been a cleansing specialist for 32 years. I've done many, many cleanses. Many panchakarma, which is an Ayurveda type of cleanse, which dredges the system and cleans almost everything out, depending on how many days you do. And I still have a toxic burden. So it's really important to learn about the different types of toxins, I believe, and do cleanse them, track our progress as we go along, and then prevent these toxins from getting in our bodies in the first place. And that's the a course that I follow with my patients and with my clients, whether they're in person or long distance,
So
to help them with those four goals.
describe the Ayurveda system and why it's so successful.
Oh, well, it's been around for 5 to 7. Ayurvedic medicine has been around for 5 to 7,000 years now. And if somebody doesn't know what Ayurveda is, it's a system, a complete system of healing from India, like traditional Chinese medicine is from China. Ayurveda is from India. Practitioners like myself can use the radial pulse or other pulses analysis, noting signs and symptoms on the face, the tongue, other indications in the lifestyle. There are many healing modalities within Ayurveda. The definition of Ayurveda, Ayuhu, means life, and Veda indicates wisdom. The Vedas, the Puranas, the Upanishads are these ancient texts from Ayurveda. And so in Ayurveda, we, look like a detective in somebody's life and see the first thing that I always do with my clients is I help them to take out what usually is the causative factors to their ill health or disease process. And like for you, you were a shift worker, and that completely dysregulates our cortisol as you experience our melatonin levels and can cause incredible symptoms. But most people don't realize that the thing that they're doing or things that they're doing, the chemicals they're putting on the body, the water that they're drinking, has municipal, potentially, depending on what city you
Oh,
live in, municipal
fluoride.
drugs,
Yeah, fluoride
fluoride,
will
which
lock up, it'll bind magnesium, so it robs you, so you don't get the benefit of magnesium, even though it might be in the water. If fluoride is present at the same time, what you're drinking won't get through to your tissue cells.
yes, yes, it's so true. So that's one of the first things that I do as an Ayurveda practitioner is I help people to eliminate these causative factors in their diet and in their lifestyle. And then, we go deeper as we work together to make adjustments and refinements. And after we take some things away, we add things in as well, like magnesium and other things to support the body's own detoxification pathways.
So really, it's trying to find the right balance where the body is actually doing all that. So what's missing in our lifestyle, in our environmental situation, food, water, whatever's around us, what's missing or out of balance that we can supplement or supply, which allows the body to find its own balance. It's always doing the work. We just have to be careful gardeners, like tending the soil. You want to grow good vegetables, you've got to make sure the soil has the right nutrients, the right pH, it's got enough water, it's got enough sunshine. All of those factors, they're environmental factors, and the plant does its own thing. It
Hmm.
grows well when it's got everything there that it needs. And so our tissue cells are no different. But Ayurveda works on the basis of there are four body types, aren't they? Do you take into account the different body types with the type of cleansing that may be necessary for them?
I do when I work with somebody on an individual basis. And even when people do one of my uh, group cleanses, the 30-day serious cleanse challenge or my 5-day body-centered protocol, they can always, have a consultation to work with me to really go deeper with their own physiology and their body mind type. But I love how you talk about the body's natural intelligence. And Ayurveda teaches us to enhance and support the body's natural intelligence. We just, I think, as humans, don't have the handbook. We don't understand our own toxic burden. We don't understand all the times how to support our detoxification pathways or even what they are. We don't know how to.
Recognize the symptoms. We don't really know what we're carrying. If we're carrying a heavy burden, we just feel pain or inflammation or get headaches. There are these superficial symptoms that we think, well, if I just take an aspirin, I can numb and dumb that down. But it doesn't go away. It just makes the problem get worse. You just delay by masking the symptoms. You just delay doing something to actually correct the problem.
It's true. It's true. The solution to a toxic burden is not aspirin. It's understanding our toxic burden. And incidentally, I have a quiz to help people understand their own toxic burden. And if you'd like, we could put a link to that. It's free. It takes just a few minutes to fill out, and people can learn. I think this is the most important thing to learn about the different types of toxins that we've been exposed to. In my work, I teach extensively on that because, as I said, we're exposed to more toxins and intoxicants now than at any point in history. And it's really important to know there are actually 7 different categories of toxins that we could be exposed to, which is a story for another podcast.
Yeah, yeah. There are the soy products, the industrial soy products that are mimic plastic, um, or synthetic estrogens that also deplete magnesium and interfere with our hormone balance. Because these chemicals, the synthetic chemicals, mimic natural hormones, but they're not quite the same. So they don't actually do the job that our natural hormones do, and they cause extra side effects. So,
It's true. It's true. I think this is really fascinating and the aha moment for a lot of people where heavy metals and environmental chemicals can actually masquerade as things that our body needs. So the body gets tricked without even realizing it, like the xenoestrogens or pseudoestrogens or endocrine disruptors. These compounds can bind to actual hormone receptors and trigger signals that the body never intended. The body can get tricked, and but our, when we know about it, we can then rise up and become the guardians of our health.
Yeah, yeah, we need to rise up a lot these days.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think paying attention to cleaning out the body and detoxing is something everyone should start to realize is very important. It's not just some people think of cleansing as, oh, well, getting an enema or a colonic or something like that. And,
Mhm.
and that's only addressing your alimentary canal. But what about all your tissue cells, your muscle, your bone, and the fat storage? The when people put on a lot of weight, the fat cells are one of the areas like a sponge that suck up these wastes and toxins the body finds it hard to excrete. And so we become a reservoir with our excessive fat around the middle, the adipose tissue, and the fats accumulating from too many carbs, too much sugar in the diet. We can't handle it. Insulin puts it away as fat, and it takes waste products along with it. So, if people are, that's one of the symptoms of toxicity can be excessive weight gain, even though you're not overeating,
Mhm.
but your
It's
body's not
true.
processing.
Yes, that's so true. And then that exact fat becomes a driver for more fat,
Yeah.
interestingly enough.
Yes, and it drops our energy levels. We become sluggish and slow, get brain fog. It
Now,
affects posture. Everything starts to degrade.
it's true. I just want to clarify here for our dear viewers, we are not fat shaming.
No,
We
it's
are saying that
Mhm.
fat stores toxins, the studies show fat stores toxins, and then that ultimately, especially, there's two types of fat, the fat that you can jiggle, and then the fat that's in,
the brown fat. Yeah, there's 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 healthy fats, and then there's excess fats, and the excess fats are what weigh us down and are a symptom. So it's a symptom like a headache. It's nothing else except a health symptom or the body crying out it needs help.
Yes, yes. And one thing I will add for our beautiful women of a certain age is that, and we learn this in Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine, the body at a certain age in perimenopause and menopause will hold on to more fat because it stores important hormones there. And a lot of us go to, these extreme fasting and extreme diets when there actually is an important value there to the body with some of that extra fat. Now, I'm not talking about 20, 30, 40, 50,
That would be
100 pounds.
excess. Yeah.
Again, I'm
A
not
little
fat
bit of
shaming.
extra padding as we get older is quite all right.
It's actually healthy. In Ayurveda, we talked, you did mention the four body types, but having more
Hmm.
kapha people tend to have longevity, interestingly enough, longer than the pitta or the vata types. Now, there's many, many other factors, but that's just an interesting
Because the
fact.
good fats are protective of the nervous system. So th they are shielding. And when we pass menopause and we're not making the healthy estrogens with the uterus anymore and the ovaries, we have to rely more on the fat storage to produce some healthy estrogen to keep our hormones balanced. So, yeah, I can see the strategy. Everything is very clever, and the body has its own wisdom. We just have to be careful of extremes, and the extremes become more obvious the more of a toxic burden we start to carry. So, if we keep cleansing regularly, and putting the good nutrients in, our housekeeping should get better, right? Internally.
Theoretically, but you mentioned something which I love, and I actually talk about a lot. People do random cleanses and they don't know what they're cleansing, or they do random fasts, and when their body's not prepared well. So, a colonic does not equate to a cleanse. It is just eliminating the contents of our bowels, as you said. But any cleanse, it's like a good story. There's a beginning, means preparation. There's a middle, the actual cleansing, and then there's post-cleansing methods. And this is a truism in Ayurveda, and this is, one of the foundational pieces that I learned along the way early on in being a cleansing specialist. You can't just jump into a cleanse. You have to prepare the body. You have to prepare your mind. You have to prepare emotionally as well
Yeah,
for the,
psychological preparation is very important as well. It's a process, really. It's a process of several steps to get to the final destination, which is the goal. So we're coming to an end very soon. Would you like to give people an idea of where they can find you or what you've written or what you do to learn more?
oh, yes, absolutely. Happy to help people find more resources for staying healthy through cleansing and detoxification. People can find me at seriouscleanse.com and Serious Cleanse on Instagram. They can take my quiz. My Assess Your Toxic Burden quiz is a great asset. And I offer a 30-day Serious Cleanse challenge. It's for people who are serious about their health and want to have a health turnaround. And I also offer a cleansing kit, which is more of a body-centered 5-day protocol. And people also use this. For instance, some women use my Serious Cleanse body mask, which is in the 5-day protocol, to do spot cleansing after they've had a mammogram or after significant travel because we're exposed to a lot of radiation and it has earth and sea ingredients to support natural detoxification of the skin. And I also teach people how to work on what the main organ of detoxification, which is the skin. We know the 4 organs of detoxification: the skin, the lymphatic system, the kidneys, and the liver. So my 5-day cleansing kit addresses all 4 of these.
Wow, that sounds very comprehensive. Thank you so much for sharing some great tips on how to lift our load and be lighter.
I love how you put that. And thank you so much for having me on. I loved the dialogue and you asked great questions. Such
My
a pleasure
pleasure.
to meet you. And what a great resource. I look forward to hearing if you ship to the US
Oh,
with your
yes, yes.
magnesium
I'll send
stuff.
you an email with the link to the website.
Oh, great.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Aloha.
Aloha. I hope you liked this conversation and will share it with others. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. If you want to listen to other Body Charge conversations, click like, subscribe, the bell icon, and click all notifications. Subscribe to our newsletter to get updates on blogs, podcasts, videos, and magnesium special offers at electromagnesium.com.au. Relax, recharge, and recover.